twisted priorities. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, you can tell a lot about a person by what he or she prioritizes in life. So your kids are in a soccer tournament. Do you cancel that golf outing happening the same day or not? And same with politicians and activists. When the you-know-what is hitting the fan in the country, do you jump in to solve the problem, or do you blow it off and work on pet projects that don't help solve anything? Well, that's what's happening right now here in the United States. We just learned that retail sales are falling as inflation robs Americans of their spending money, extra spending money if they had any. Today's rate hike by the Fed was the highest since '94. That's going to smash the housing market. And the rate hike, too little too late, as Peter Schiff said last night. And sure enough, we knew this was going to happen. Home builder sentiment dropped to its lowest level in 2 years. That was during the pandemic. And then the producer price index, which measures wholesale prices, rose in May by 0.9%, which is double the April increase. So Democrats' answer to all this, just meaningless. In order to appear as though they're doing something, the Biden administration is bad-mouthing the very industry his administration decided to go to war with.
In a time of global crisis, oil companies should be doing everything they can to expand capacity and lower cost at the pump. Instead, they are charging record profits at the expense of American families. President Biden is putting a spotlight on this and calling on oil refiners to invest those record profits to increase capacity.
Reading with KJP. Well, all I can say to that is those darn capitalists. You know, Biden's letter, he sent this letter out, it ordered the oil producers to produce more oil, basically for less money. Oh, that's realistic. He put the brakes on oil production. He destroyed our energy independence. Then he rails against the oil and gas industry for not producing more oil. When the Democrats aren't throwing sand in the fan and the actual policy-making side of things, they and their supporters keep busy pursuing a totally idiotic woke agenda. So when you spend $120, as I did today, to fill my tank, well, are you going to be relieved to know that there will be more gender neutral bathrooms on Capitol Hill? Yeah. And laser focused on supply chain problems, the president will also expand access to sex change procedures and puberty blockers nationwide. All right, and with everything going south fast, they had to pause everything to celebrate the Democrats' holiest month of the year.
Pride is back at the White House. From day one, this has been the most pro-equality administration in history, led by guys like Pete Buttigieg. I think we have more LGBTQ plus people than any administration or every administration combined.
Well, that'll lower the price at the pump. Great. And if you're worried about China and you think our foreign policy is in tatters, the State Department's answer to that will surely scare Xi Jinping.
Hello, Twitter world. I'm Ambassador Gina Abercrombie-Winstanley, the U.S. Department of State's first Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. I'm delighted to welcome you to the State Department's newest Twitter account, @StateDepartmentDEIA.
How exciting. And meanwhile, on the Hill, Democrats are so desperate to hold on to power, they're trying to scare you away from voting Republican because guess what? All those minorities running and winning, well, they're actually closet racists who have the I word on their mind.
They would impeach President Biden as quickly as possible. It would also embolden Republicans and the far right and white nationalists across the country to begin to believe that it is their time. This is a group that has been radicalized by the Great Replacement myth and many other things, and have been pushing for violence and pushing for even civil war.
Thank God New Yorkers have a man of his searing intellect representing the people in these troubled economic times. But Congressman Bowman is just taking a lesson, isn't he, from the highest-paid racial huckster around. The intellectual force, after all, behind the Democrats' embrace of the systemic racism myth, a man whose sole goal is to cash in on poorly written books for adults and kids. The plot's always the same. America's a rotten, hateful place with an awful history, and everything and everyone is racist.
By 3 years old, our kids have an adult-like concept of race. By 3 years old, our kids are attaching qualities like smartness and honesty and cleanliness to skin color. And all the while, parents are thinking, and teachers, that our kids aren't thinking about skin color or even seeing it. And so we're not stepping in to counteract those messages, and we need to.
So Democrats in the media actually think that Americans who are freaking out now about their monthly budgets being overrun, actually that they want to marinate in that stuff.
People can raise racist ideas and not even know that they're doing it. I think that's very important to make that a point to make.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate truth is we live in a society of all sorts of racial inequities and disparities, all sorts of ideas attaching goodness or badness to particular skin colors. We have to be teaching our children a different way of thinking, a way of being, in the world.
At a time when the country badly needs optimism and sound ideas, liberals keep returning to the same poisoned well. It's all a distraction, and it's always negative.
What about children that have been raised over the past 4, 5, 6 years? What are kids' first memories of Charlottesville, January the 6th? Proud Boys. I just do wonder what sort of negative impact that's going to have on so many young kids coming of age.
Really, Joe? Because I think the better question is, and it's the one that you should be discussing, what sort of negative impact will an economic crash and increased drug abuse after 2 years of COVID restrictions have on our young kids? But that, of course, asking that question, confronting it, that would put Democrats under the microscope, which they don't have the guts to do. The sad truth is that the Democrats have been out of steam for years. They're not interested in raising your standard of living or keeping the streets safer or making sure the public schools are competitive with their global counterparts. Not interested in any of that. All they're capable of is decline, division, and hate. Just look at the freaks still showing up at the homes of Supreme Court justices. Look at the attacks on crisis pregnancy centers and the relative silence from elected officials. Left-wing criminals have the tacit approval of the Democrat Party that's currently on life support. These are people with twisted priorities and no real plans to help the country. They're going to pretend, of course, they're hard at work on things like fighting climate change or fighting institutional racism or corporate greed. But in the end, it's all just a pathetic power grab. But in less than 5 months, the voters will be doing a power grab of their own. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.